Hi, I'm Matthew.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
Hi, I'm Kaitlyn.
Hi, I'm Amy.
And we're a part of Nikkei Rising, the young adult branch of Japanese American memorial pilgrimages. Today is February 19th, and on this day every year, we take part in celebrating Day of Remembrance.
A solemn day in the Japanese American community where we honor and remember the 120,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry who were unjustly incarcerated during World War II. We also pay respect to the thousands of Japanese Latin Americans and Japanese Canadians who were incarcerated as well.
On this day, 79 years ago, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. This order gave the Army the power to designate military zones across the country and forcibly remove or incarcerate anyone they deemed a danger to the United States.
While the order never explicitly listed any specific race or ethnicity to be subject to these actions, the widespread anti-Japanese sentiment following the attack on Pearl Harbor and the subsequent actions of the Army made it clear that the order was directed towards Japanese Americans.
In the months that followed, Japanese Americans were only given 48 hours notice to sell their homes and property, bring only what they could carry, and report to designated locations for forced removal, all while under armed guard and being treated like criminals.
Some spent the next several months in horse stalls at racetracks or makeshift camps at fairgrounds. Others were sent straight to one of 10 major camps the Army had set up around the country.
For nearly 4 years, many members of our community lived behind barbed wire fences in desolate locations around the country, hundreds of miles from friends, family, loved ones, and their communities.
When the war ended, the former incarcerees were given a bus ticket and $25 to go wherever they wished. Many returned to the cities they left behind to find them far different places from when they left. Many of their homes and property that they hoped might remain were gone.
Others chose not to return to their homes and spread east, creating Japanese American communities in the Midwest and East Coast, far from the fear and discrimination they felt was still alive on the West Coast.
For years, the Japanese American community remained silent on the history of their wartime incarceration and the trauma they faced. It wasn't until the children of the incarcerees grew older and questioned the stories and snippets they heard of what their families called camp.
The first Day of Remembrance event to commemorate Executive Order 9066 was held in Washington State in November 1978. Several hundred former incarcerees and their families traveled from Seattle to the Puyallup Fairgrounds, where many of them were once held when the war began.
As the years went on, more programs began to pop up around the country. From Seattle to Los Angeles to Chicago and New York, more and more Japanese Americans honored the incarceration, and the date, February 19th, was chosen.
While Day of Remembrance is one of the largest programs celebrated nationwide by the Japanese American community, other programs, called pilgrimages, continue to go on. These programs are designed around specific camps, but oftentimes carry around the same programming, feelings, emotions, and ideas that happen with Day of Remembrance as well.
Now, more than 20 cities and various organizations host events across the country on a variety of aspects of the incarceration by incorporating art, scholarship, media, and social justice into their programming. Day of Remembrance is also recognized by several cities as an official observance.
And so we join our community today in honoring the hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans, Japanese Canadians, and Japanese Latin Americans who were incarcerated during World War II.
So remember, never forget and never again.
We hope that you can take part in a Day of Remembrance ceremony in your local community. If you'd like to find out more about Day of Remembrance activities, including our special episode of the Yonsei podcast, or other activities that Nikkei Rising is doing, you can follow us on our social media at Nikkei Rising, or visit jampilgrimages.com.